to the show, Mark. I'm your host, Mark Hairston, and this is Mortgage Talk and More. And I'm excited to host some friends of mine. They were actually on the show, 6 months ago or a year, maybe?
About a year
ago. Yeah. Things have changed in this marketplace. So, but be honest, you do not want to change the dial right now. You want to stay on this show today because I'm with my friends Kenny and Paola Giordano, who are experts in managing short-term rentals for investors, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. And your company is LuxHoSTR?
Yes.
Correct.
And I know they're experts because I've worked with them for the last several years on some properties that we own, and I've watched them, perform at very high levels. And I want them to share a little bit about their background, and then let's get into the questions around what you do.
Awesome. Thanks for having us, Mark. Appreciate being here today with you.
Now, I will say his daughter goes to Georgia. She's a freshman. But we're not going to hold that against them because they, had ruled our horns the other day. That's okay. I knew he was going to bark a little bit.
It was a hard weekend for the long course. Yes.
Oh, it's a tough weekend.
Yes.
But let's start talking about short-term rentals because, a couple of years ago, certainly during COVID, the market was flush with people moving around. It was easy, if you will, to rent properties. But we were just talking before the show, things have changed, huh?
Yeah, things have changed a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure.
There's a lot of product. There's a lot of supply out there and fewer people booking. So occupancies are down. Average daily rates are down.
Mm-hmm.
And the question becomes, how do you perform? How do you pivot on a property to continue to perform? And our goal always is to deliver, the most absolute dollars to our owners that we can possibly deliver.
Right.
That's our top line goal.
And share that phrase you used with me one time.
Absolute dollars.
Absolute dollars. See, I love that phrase. I never heard that before. But essentially what it means is something's better than nothing.
Well, it does mean something's better than nothing. And it does mean that sometimes owners get focused on what's my monthly rate or what's my average daily nightly rate.
Mm-hmm.
And they, sort of missing the forest through the trees.
Right.
At the end of the day, I want to deliver the best possible check I can to the owners. That's our goal as a business. And once we all get aligned on that, we can just go to town and work towards that goal. If our alignment is off, for example, if we set a monthly goal of X and the market is soft, we'll circle back with our owners and say, hey, we've got to adjust X in today's current market environment.
Mm-hmm.
And so then it might be 0.9X or 0.8X. But
right.
Once we are on that, we pursue that. And what we've seen is by having those goal alignment done early and well, we've actually been able to exceed targets even in this market.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And getting back to the psychology of people, in the traditional real estate market, we see that a lot with sellers who are unrealistic about what they can sell their home for still.
Yes.
So some of it's just understanding the market in general, but like you said, how do you do that?
Well,
we also, I think we take into consideration what's the net operating cost because, there is a cost. We have, when you are going to put a house in short-term rental versus while you're selling the house, you have costs that are related to that, laundry, your cleaners, and you still have to pay all your utilities. So we really take that into consideration to price a house and have the owner get the most it can while we're doing both things, at the same time.
Yeah. Because taxes are still being paid. Insurance
Exactly.
is still being paid.
Yeah.
Things aren't getting cheaper.
No. And we tried owners to consider that those costs have to be paid when we're doing short-term rental because that's how we operate, for that to be rented. Because it's we try to get as much guests as we can in the house and optimize as much as we can. So
one of the things we pride ourselves, we have a tagline. We say, great guests, great homes for great guests for great owners. Right.
I love that.
And that is our initial alignment. Can we, and it doesn't, every property has the potential to be great. So it's not
really
every property has a potential to be great. The question
how do you
is,
define that?
Well, that's
I think about Westlake Hills or Rolling Wood or Lake Austin or whatever, but every home.
Yeah. So what we think is you want to be best of breed in your market.
Okay.
Being great is being best of breed in your market. You can't change your market.
Yeah.
Right. But you can be the best of breed in your market. You can offer a great product. One of the things we we try to be very clear with our owners about is that unlike traditional real estate is qualification, net cash flow, all those kind of parameters related to identifying the single guest that is right for a home for a medium to long period of time. That's traditional real estate. That's not our wheelhouse.
That's not your wheelhouse, right?
Our wheelhouse is hospitality. We bring great homes to great guests on behalf of great owners. And that's a decision that when we sit down with owners, we try to be very clear about what it means to be great, because great, if you're able to achieve it, compounds on itself. This is a market where in Airbnb, there are millions of homes listed. But if you choose to be the standout home in your market, you will outperform your market, and therefore you'll outperform your targets if they're reasonable.
Yeah, if they're reasonable.
If they're reasonable.
Yeah. Now, can people find that greatness online? How do they know it's great?
Well, you know it's great every time if you've ever used Airbnb or you've ever booked a hotel, you know it's great. Because every time
you experience it.
Every time you make a booking, you look at the reviews.
Yeah.
And if our currency is reviews.
Okay.
We trade in reviews.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, we strive on 5-star reviews. We try to do every single detail is very important for a home, because that's what you want to feel at home when you go and rent any of our properties. And if you go to a hotel and you are short in towels, you're going to call the front desk and say, hey, we're 4 people and we only have 3. You expect that person on reception to call someone to grab that 4 towel right away. We do that. We respond really fast, less than an hour. And all that actually is considered in your listing. Airbnb and platforms like that, they care about that.
Yeah.
You are going to be on top of other listings if your rate response is really high.
Okay.
So that's
And that all
customer
shows up in
service.
reviews primarily?
It does a lot,
comments,
and some of most of the reviews actually talk about the hosts and how responsive they were and how well the house was stocked. And not necessarily has to be luxury. It has to be of what are the details that we have to be able to cook a meal when I'm staying in someone's house, because then why don't you use a hotel?
Right.
I want to save some money and I want to feel homey. So all those is just to have it well equipped is very important.
Yeah.
For a good
and that was my experience with y'all when y'all helped us rent some properties my wife and I own. You gave us insight to things we didn't even think about. I'm not sure we accomplished them all, but at least it was good counsel. I will say that. So
all these things are a work in progress at every home.
Yeah.
And honestly, what I think my wife is referring to is we try to be as preemptive as possible, identify what are possible friction points, and then eliminate those. Because as one of our owners communicated to me, sometimes the juice is just not worth the squeeze. And so, for example, if you have a problem at a home that you haven't elected to fix, and then that problem keeps showing up in your guest experience, that's going to impair your reviews. Once your reviews are impaired, you'll go down in the search algorithm. And so your revenue will go down. And now you'll have to lower your average daily rate basically to recover, to find something to offset those negative reviews. So from our perspective, the reason we're responsive is because in order to deliver great, you've got to make sure you're prepared to respond.
Well, the word you've used here this morning is hospitality. I've never really thought about it like that.
Yes.
I've just thought about it as an investment. I mean, that have to get somebody in there, but long term, you want to, like you said, keep these clients very happy, so that you stay at the top of mind.
It's not only top of mind, to your point, but it's top of the search queue.
Yeah,
because the search queue is driven by these reviews. They're driven by the reasonably set average daily rates. They're driven by maximal flexibility in how you present the listing. And so for us, we curate every home, whether it's in a luxury market or it's in a non-luxury market. We curate that home and set that home up so that basically the listing itself is attracting the guests that are going to be appropriate for that neighborhood. So oftentimes we'll talk to owners and say, hey, it's really important for us, the neighbor experience. And the owners will tell us,
what does that mean?
having the neighbors happy, basically, because that's important, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
You don't want to be in a neighborhood that's a family neighborhood, let's say, and there's a lot of kids and bicycles, and you have a party last night at 4 p.m. at 4 in the morning.
The Bulldogs partying.
The Bulldogs,
Correct.
in this last weekend.
But for example, we just got a booking, October 24th to the 27th, and the booking is doesn't qualify with certain rules of this home. In other words, the people that would be staying at the home are under the age of 27, because this particular home, we set the rule set that says no bookings for under 27, just because the neighborhood is sensitive. It's close to downtown. We want to avoid it becoming a party house.
That's right.
And then the neighbors will be unhappy. They'll call 311 and report it for noise violations and things like that. So we're like, okay, we probably have to, seek guests that are above the age of 27 or above. And we had a parent reach out to us and said, will you accommodate these guests? These 4 young gentlemen who happen to be ex-football players for Westlake High School, who we used to watch and play high school.
Sure.
We absolutely will accommodate those guests, because we know those kids and they're great kids.
Yeah.
So we always, on the one hand, we set rule sets to achieve a certain goal, but then we have to be flexible to allow for accommodation when that accommodation makes sense. And generally, we had a young man reach out to us who was under the age of 27 at another home, 22. And he wanted to have a bachelor party at the home. So the house was no bachelor parties and not under 27. And he outlined to us why he would be a great guest at that home. And we established sort of agreed upon parameters for that stay. He stuck with those parameters. We stuck with those parameters. We ended up having a great guest.
Everything went fine.
Everything went great.
Yeah.
And that's the process that we'll go through. That is the process we go through.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is our vetting process, if you will.
But you don't qualify people per se. Like
we don't qualify.
About.
I don't look at your
credit
FICO score
report or anything
report.
like that.
We do have extra rules, like Ken is mentioning. So those we try to
You can make certain rules.
We do. And we ask them to read them, comply. Most of the time people book, one person books, and then it's like, well, I have 5 more guests. We'll make sure everyone reads the. It's also for safety of everyone, because sometimes you need to make sure, no smoking, no this, no that. We just want people to understand that it's someone's house at the end, and we want it to be
pets?
respected.
Is that a problem ever?
Well, pets are a delicate issue because certain homes accommodate pets, certain homes don't accommodate pets, and that's very straightforward. But, within the Airbnb or the STR or VRBO world, emotional, I forget what they call them.
Yeah, emotional pets. They don't have restrictions.
The pets aren't emotional. The people are emotional that have them.
Well, yeah, they have.
If it's an emotional
they
pet.
call them service dogs.
Yeah, service dogs.
I see those a lot, yeah.
So service dogs, we don't have, we accommodate service dogs. There's no not accommodating service dogs. So we accommodate service dogs, and we help our owners to understand that under those circumstances, that's not something we can opine on.
Right.
Now, as Ken mentioned, our owners are actually our clients. So we are going to make sure that if there is an extra amount of cleaning that the cleaners have to be done, that there is something damaged, we are going to have a fee for that. And there's usually a pet fee as well that is added. Most of the platforms, they have an option for that. So for us, we just want the house to be taken care of and the owner feel happy, but also the guest to feel welcome.
Sure. You want those 5-star reviews.
Because that's the hospitality. Exactly.
Now, what I understand in short-term rentals versus mid-term or long-term, you can't take a deposit, can you?
Well, certain circumstances we can request a deposit. So, for example, we have a guest that reached out to us and is staying 8.5 months at a house we're at.
Wow.
So that, we will short-term will move. We will accommodate short-term to medium-term. Our wheelhouse is really the short-term to accommodate medium-term. It's not medium-term and inward.
Right. That's right.
That way, our lane is not the real estate lane. We think the traditional medium-term rentals is like a real estate lane.
Yeah.
Our lane is the hospitality lane. But in the case of this medium-term rental, this 8.5 month, we made a lot of accommodations in order to get that booking, because it made sense for the owner, it made sense for the guest, and we did take a security deposit.
Yeah,
and
it makes sense for y'all too.
Yes,
it makes sense for us too. So we will take a security deposit even for shorter term stays. If somebody were to say, "Oh, I've got 3 dogs that are coming to the house, but they'll be great," we may take a security deposit, or we may say, "Look, just be very clear, we're accommodating the 3 dogs. So welcome to the home.
Right.
We're trusting that you're going to look after the home and that any additional cleaning will be covered. And we will put a request in for any additional cleaning. And we had an experience where somebody came to stay at a house that
Didn't disclose, I guess, that
they didn't disclose that they had a pet,
Oh.
which we, so they were violating the rules of the house by not disclosing that because they didn't pay the pet fee.
Mm.
And afterwards, there were 2 carpets that were stained, that had stains on them.
Yeah.
And so those carpets had to be put out for cleaning.
Right.
And that guest ended up having to pay for that. And that's just how it is.
Yeah.
And let's speak to that idea of this lane you keep referring to. You guys are in the short-term rental lane primarily, correct?
Correct. So that lane it's a hospitality lane. It's to make sure
your competition is hotels.
Well, our competition are other people doing short-term rental
In the area.
Yeah, and our hotels.
Yeah.
So that is our competition. But that's our lane. So we enjoy hosting. We enjoy the interaction we get with our guests. We think that the homes that we have in our portfolio are homes that generally people will enjoy spending time at.
Sure.
So we like that exchange. We understand
that makes sense.
That's the exchange we're putting. We want people to have a great experience. We want people to come and experience whether it's South Padre Island or whether it's Baja California or whether it's Westlake. We want people to experience, or on Lake Austin. We want people to enjoy those homes. That's our lane. We're committed to delivering a product that provides a great experience within parameters.
Yeah. And we talked about the challenging market right now. What do you do to offset that? How do you maximize somebody's profits, if you will?
Yeah. So, I mean, right. So the key here is getting back to that absolute dollars. An empty home, we call it like throwing away cartons of milk daily. Right. Every night that's empty. I mean, if it's a $300 average daily rate, home, and it's empty, it's like throwing away $300 every night. So 10 nights is $3,000 pretty quickly. 30 nights is $9,000. So our goal is to make sure that we price the homes so that we will continually see traction at the homes.
Yeah.
If we're not seeing traction at the homes, then we likely, and nothing else is wrong with the home. We didn't have bad reviews. We didn't put a claim in through Airbnb cover where Airbnb may have de-amplified us for a little bit, because you have to understand that if you use the payouts on Airbnb, if you cancel guests, you will get dinged in the search queue.
Okay.
So if you're not careful and you get a lot of queries, so if we got regular queries and we said, no, I'm waiting for the next one, waiting for the next one, we will be going down in the search queue.
I see.
And therefore we will have more empty nights.
I see.
So we proactively manage our horizon, and we also watch very closely what the lead time on bookings is. If the lead time, and we've seen a compression in the lead time in bookings.
And what does that mean?
Which means the time of booking prior to the date that people want to book.
It's getting shorter?
It's getting shorter.
It's getting shorter.
Yeah, so we were seeing 4 to 6 weeks a year ago.
Okay.
We're now seeing 2 weeks.
Okay.
So we know it's a dogfight. And I don't mean like the dogfight we experienced this
Not
past
that
weekend.
type of fight.
Do that barking thing again.
Please don't encourage
I
me,
know,
Mark.
I know.
So, but the point is, remember that this weekend, for example, if we have a home that's empty this weekend, we're going to be super aggressive about our pricing. We're going to be adjusting the listing to try to raise that property in the search queue. And then once we get it, we're probably not going to back off the pricing until we see the next booking. So this way, because we, unlike a traditional real estate, you're looking for a 6 to 9 month lease. Once you find the 6 month, you can, walk away for 6 months and revisit it.
That's right.
Once this weekend expires, we got to get right back at it.
Yeah.
It's over.
Yeah.
So it's game on for us.
And generally speaking, how long is your average tenant, if you will? Is it a week?
4 to 4.6 nights.
Yeah.
4.6 nights.
Yeah, about 5 nights.
So it's very, very quick.
It depends a lot also the area. Some are more rented during the weekends. It depends where the location is as well.
Sure.
But it's usually like, maybe the most we've seen like a week constantly.
Okay.
Rental. But one of the things that is also interesting to optimize the listing is how do you make more people in your house during a month, let's say, and the house has to be adapted and set up to accommodate those guests. So how do I make more 1-day turnovers, for example? And that's something that people ask us, like, well, if you don't have the supplies, then we can't do it. So I'm talking about linen and towels and basic things that for us is very important: coffee and oil and all those type of things where people need to not go to the grocery store to buy.
Yeah.
If we don't have
You have to do that
enough
quick.
linens, the cleaners can't clean. The laundry cannot get turned over. We
You
have
lose
to
the time.
You lose time. You lose 2 or 3 days, and that's a lot on a
You know,
monthly.
it's like the F1 just left town. Those guys can turn those tires over like that.
There you go. Like the
They can't
pizza.
wait.
Correct.
You've got to get going.
And
Exactly.
they're certainly not running out to Firestone to buy tires.
Day
of the race.
No, they're not doing
Right?
that. They've got them on hand.
That's
You know?
correct. And this
And
is
a very trained staff as well.
To Paola's point, this
Yeah.
is one of the things we do an especially good job on is the default may be that we may block 2 days prior and afterwards for each guest that comes in. But the moment we're able to schedule cleaners to come in, we can open up those days. So we're able to accommodate, in most instances, same day turnovers. Well, that means that like last month,
Same day.
Yeah.
same day. Because once you have the property set up correctly, it doesn't take a lot of time to reset the house.
Yeah.
If you get the right guests and they haven't done anything, we've never had a home, knock on wood,
Yeah.
that's been trashed. We've never had it.
Yeah,
Ever.
we've never.
Ever.
No.
Yeah.
But
and
you
we
see-
think that that's because of
Sorry.
the work we do when we set up the listing,
front.
the rule sets,
Exactly.
the
Yep.
Exactly.
the engagement at the outset. So we've never had that experience. But we know it happens, right?
Yeah.
So we're mindful of that. But because of how we set up and the work we do in advance,
Mhm.
we're able to accommodate same day turnovers. So we can then be, for example, if I have a Thursday to Saturday or Thursday to Sunday booking, 2 weekends in a row, I've got basically Sunday to Thursday open.
Yeah.
When speaking about absolute dollars, right? If those
Go get some of that.
go get some of that.
Yeah.
So we'll be more aggressive about those gaps
Sure.
and pricing those gaps to get people in the homes.
And speaking of revenue, I mean, Austin, of course, as you know, is full of festivals and events. You know, the Formula One was just here. The
ACL.
UT played the Georgia Bulldogs. Big events, South by Southwest or whatever. So I'd assume that those are your prime areas, target markets. Or
Yeah,
season.
I mean, you can't run a business on accommodating events.
no,
So
No.
So what you do is you harvest, as much as you can during the events, and then you basically have operational optimization when you don't have events going on. And so you really have to be able to adjust your focus
absolutely.
so that you can accommodate, or accomplish as much as you can during the events. We have a phrase in finance: be a bear, be a bull, but don't be a pig.
Yeah.
So
pigs get slaughtered, as they say.
yeah, pigs get slaughtered. So from our perspective, it's about what's a reasonable rate on accommodations, understanding your market, get some bookings going, get good guests, let them have a great experience, and help them to really enjoy the home. And then we move on to the next guest. And that's just rinse and repeat for us.
And I think that's your expertise as well. Your expertise, as far as I can tell from the outside looking in and having done some business with you, is you understand how to price things and get the people in there.
We do know how to price things.
And
People don't
how
know
to figure that deal out.
People generally don't know how to price.
They don't.
And
I don't.
so we know how to
know.
price.
I wouldn't have a clue.
Yeah, it's important. And plus all the logistics that takes. I mean, we have built that team. We're lucky to have a good team backing us, cleaners, people that go QC, which is quality control, which is important too. And then everything we do on our end, it all goes together. So that communication is pretty important on a team to have these type of reservations successful, and have it like what Ken is saying. But we have to have the owner on board as well to understand what it takes.
I assume you've probably fired some owners before.
I have.
Yeah.
We have. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not that
It's not fire them, but you say we're not a good fit.
we joke that we
Yes.
fire owners, but at the end of the day, if we're not aligned
Right.
about what the goals are, then for us, it's just it's better for everybody
Right.
if
Just
we
part
do our
ways.
thing and they do their
That's
thing.
right.
And we don't put people under contract, so it's very flexible from that regard.
Right.
And we invest a lot. Our customer acquisition cost is high. We're very engaged with our owners so that we basically invest a lot of time and energy. So for us to walk away from any owner it really means that there's a fundamental misalignment.
Mhm,
So some of the
mhm,
fundamental misalignments will be like the goals are unrealistic for the
Mhm.
actual environment.
mhm.
The product that they want to deliver doesn't reconcile with great. They want to just basically get it across the line with the de minimis
minimum
amount of-
effort.
the minimum,
Yeah.
minimum, and it's just not going to compound itself.
Right, right.
If an owner says to us, "No, I've got one set of linens," we'll have the cleaners clean the linens, and then they'll reset the home. That creates a lot of friction. It's clear as day that
Sure.
that's not going to work for us.
Well, we're wrapping up our time here, unfortunately, because I love this conversation. So tell the people how to get a hold of you. They want to talk to you about more about what you're doing.
Well, they can definitely find us on Instagram as
Okay.
LuxHoSTR.
All right.
Yeah, and that's LuxHoSTR,
Yeah.
right? And that's a combination of Lux, Host, and STR.
Which is short-term rental for people
Oh,
that
that's
don't know what
great.
that
Yeah,
is. So
that's
it's
great.
a
That's
little
very
play
catchy.
of words. And yes, they can always reach out on our phone numbers. We can put it on our website. That's okay for you.
Okay.
And we'll be happy to help. I mean, this is what we love. We have passion for it.
Wonderful.
We'll
Wonderful.
move on
Well,
to-
we got a minute or two left. Tell us, wrap it up for us. What are we missing here that I need to know or that people need to know?
Well, the market, you talked about the market changing.
Yes,
the
sir.
market is very, very different now, right? So there's
Clearly.
a lot of product out there, meaning we're seeing a lot of,
I have 2 vacant.
right? We're seeing a lot of owners
Oh, Mark.
that have, we're seeing a lot of owners that are trying to sell their properties or trying to rent their properties in a traditional environment and are coming over to the STR space and saying, how do I perform there?
Mhm.
So I would suggest, reach out. We can always run numbers. Running
Mhm.
numbers is super easy for us to do.
Okay.
And then you can kind of level set on where we are. We try to provide what we consider reasonable and not overly optimistic, but not at all pessimistic numbers, but really realistic numbers about what the market can generate for your properties. And then that creates that initial framework for alignment.
And if people are on board with that, on average, what is the average number of days per month that they could expect to be rented? Is it 50%? Is it 60%?
Well, the market in Austin is 55%.
Okay.
Right. We book our places closer to 75%.
Okay. 3 out of 4 days.
Yeah, that's right.
That's fabulous.
3 out of 4 days. Yeah, because we'll do things to make sure if we get the setup done correctly, if we deliver a great product in a market that is overpriced, we're gonna come in just under so that we're getting the bookings.
That's right.
That's the key, right? If we're overpriced and we're not, I just reached out to, or I had a call out from a buddy of mine, and he says my place is empty until late November. I'm like, he goes, what do you think? And I go, well, without even looking at the property, I can tell you you're overpriced.
Yeah.
Because I know your property. It's a great
Right.
property. You're a great owner. I
Right.
said, but you're overpriced.
Clearly.
So you've got to come down. And he doesn't
Did
have
he?
enough. Yeah, he is coming down.
Yeah.
But this is the thing. People
we got to wrap it up.
people track the market. I say get ahead of the market.
Yeah.
Get in front of the market.
Brother, great to see you and be with you.
Great to see you
I
as well,
love
brother.
it, Paola. Always a pleasure to see you.
Always a pleasure
All
too.
right, we
Mark,
gotta wrap
thank you
this
so
deal up.
much.
Oh, you're very welcome. Time goes by so fast,
Yeah,
man.
time flies.
All right, we are done.
Awesome.
We good? Dave?